Peace, peace and vibes, Divine Nine Ether Tribe. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Monica Israel, aka the Mahogany Sunflower. How y'all elevating today? We talking about the nine ether, right? We talking about who are the nine ether, the Etherians, the ether Utopians. We're going to break down what the nine, the ether, what the combination of these energies mean, what this means for melanated, neuromelanated beings. All right. So we're just going to get into it, okay? So the intentions for this video, we are going to talk about what the nine is, what the ether is, and then what the combination of them together is, all right? And all of that in connection, how that is connected to African spirituality, Kemetic spirituality, Kemetic ancestry. Alright, y'all, so let's first talk about this energy of the nine, right? And what the nine kind of represents in the formula of the nine ether and of who the nine ethers are. So if we look at just the nine and the nine energy, right, we can think of nine as the completion of a cycle, the beginning, but the beginning of a new cycle, right? More of that infinite, that infinity, right? That death, but a rebirth, that recycling, reincarnation kind of energy here. When we think of the nine, we can think of it not necessarily being like the final, like the end chapter, right? But the opportunity for like another cycle to begin. Like think of like the moon phases, right? Or like even just like the sun phases, like the day, right? If we look at ancient African, Kemetic, Egyptian knowledge, mythology, cosmology, it all centers around this death and rebirth kind of cycle, right? We look at Ra, we look at the trip that they take, like his cycle of being the rising sun and the setting sun, right? We look at them taking this trip across the oceans across noon, right? And the Atet, right? This solar arc that kind of travels through the duat at night and then becomes reborn. I'm forgetting what the suns and the set is, right? But that's that energy of like it just links back in like in every form in like nature, right? We see it represented in nature, in chemistry, in physics, right? We just see we see the nine representing it's like the highest point that you can get, right? It's just the highest number. After nine, the cycle starts again, right? You come back to the one. And the nine and one are go hand in hand because they are because they are the yin and the yang, the dark and the light. It starts again. The cycle is a process of birth and then and death. All right, so looking at the number nine, if we look at the nine as like in traits, as in characteristics, right? The energy of nine, all right? So every number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, carries a different energy, carries a different frequency, all right? The energy 9 being the highest point in which you can get, I mean, like, that's spiritually wise and like, understanding the knowledge, right? your wisdom, this nine wisdom. All right. We can see 9 as being very wise, very experienced, very compassionate, very kind, right? Accepting. 9 has been through like a lot, like if after each phase, after you've gone through each number, right? 9 has gone through so much. Like they are very, very majestic, trying to keep very graceful, right? These are very, number 9 is very humanitarian, very caring, aware, enlightened, and very sacrificing, right? They lend a hand. They're really very willing to lend a hand, or like knowledge through wisdom, advice through experience, like because they've likely carried some type of hard experiences up to that point, right? But this is within each cycle of life. All right, we are getting that once we get to the 9, what comes next? All right, it's like that continuous kind of ocean of what's next, right? What's higher? What's the highest? Once you've reached the highest, all right, is there more to be learned? There's more to there's always more to be experienced, right? That's the whole process. That's the whole principle of kind of like reincarnation and learning again. Right. So some of the strengths, right, of the number 9 in particular, again, if we want to talk more specifically, this number 9s are very awakened, right? They've, like I said, they've experienced a lot of stuff in their life. They learned the value of inner wisdom and like leadership, right? So they're going to lead by example, and they're going to do this with like a lot of grace and like dignity, right? They're going to show you how to handle a situation without like telling you to forward what you need to do, right? This energy is very tolerant. Number 9 is very tolerant, right? It sees like sees infinite options, possibilities. It just seems no limits, right? The number 9 gives space for other numbers to exist with a lack of judgment. The number 9 understands what it is like. The number 9 is empathizing. It's able to put itself in others' shoes. The number 9 is supportive. It is able to understand. All right, so the energy of the number 9 can be very supportive and just really understanding. It carries an understanding of just what it takes to kind of go through something, to really kind of experience something. It really understands like the challenges. It understands the hardships, right? Therefore, it's able to kind of lead by example and give advice and give wisdom to the other energies, the other numbers, right? So, alongside of that, some of the weaknesses of the number 9, though, it can be very resentful, right? It can be very sacrificing. It can be very like depressive, self-suffering, right? So this energy, if it carries lower 9 energy, right? It can be a little bit intolerant, like resentful for before the experiences that it's had. It can be a little distant and reserved and hard-shelled for the experiences that it had. It's gone through a lot in its time. It's likely suffered a lot of up and downs, of a lot of challenges, right? And this comes in, this doesn't fail to exist in any level of the universe, right? In any level of the ethers when we get to that. All right. All of this energy, the way that all of this energy is, it has gone through each phase, through each number, carries its own lessons, right? So to have even get here, you've experienced the most. All right. This is your elder. This is source, you know? So, yeah, so that's the energy of the 9, right? Let's talk about what the actual ethers are, all right, in combination with this 9, right? So who are the 9 ether beings? So what is ether? Ether literally means, well, it translates in Latin to mean to burn, right? So the burning of gases and plasma and stardust, right? This is etheric energy, and this is anything that is in the ethers, right? And this is like the stars, including the stars, the planets, the moons, nebulas, you know, anything that exists outside in the ethers that is of gas. All right. So ether is consciousness. Ether is dark matter energy. It is the highest level of consciousness. It's just the highest. It's the wisest. It's the most spiritual. It's the most awakened. It carries all of this energy of power and transformation and abundance and success, right? The 9 is, if we are talking about ether, right? All right, so for etheric bodies to even exist, there has to be a combustion of gases and plasmas that are ultimately going to create these solar systems, right? And these solar systems are going to create these etheric bodies, or the human form of their consciousness, right? So we're going to carry the consciousness of whatever the sun, the ultimate power of this universe carries, right? So this is where we are going to be linked to being sun beings, all right, or the hand of Ra, all right. We are extensions. Neuromelanated beings are an extension of the sun, birthed from the sun, all right? So the largest etheric body in this universe would be the sun, right? Now, if we talk about the sun is actually it's actually black. Like it actually it's just it has such a strong light frequency that you can't really see its actual celestial etheric color, right? The sun is actually a black body that just emits like a photonic energy, right? Very very strong light. The sun produces these genes, these sun heat genes, that give off this burning energy and produces this dark color, like the darkest color it can attain. Etherians or ether Utopians have a reproductive system and a marrow of our bones called sun heat genes, right? Which became part of our blood and emits outward to the skin. The sun heat genes the more the sun heat genes, the darker the person, okay? The sun is in every multiverse. It exists in every solar system. There must be something superior to all of the other planets, to all of the other beings, bodies. All right. So we see the sun as being the father of this dimension, universe, right? Of this system, of this solar system, for everything to operate, it has to operate under the sun. So we look at the sun as being the father, and then Mother Earth, the womb that carried, that birth, that nourishes, that feeds everything from the land, right? That is Mother Nature. That's the feminine aspect, right? So here we go, and we take it back to the ancient African, Kemetic, Egyptian principles, how the matriarch system was built. This is the Ankh, right? How there is mother, father, and then there is a birth of child. This system of the threes, right? So without the mother, without the womb, there exists no species. Without the father, there exists no seeds. There exists no no system, okay? No order. So the sun gives off this ether in the form of a thing called prominences. And prominences are just a bright, large feature extending from the sun surface, and it is often like in the loop configuration. Prominences are an extension of the sun which jots out and forms a loop configuration. All right, so just kind of like a coil. Ether beings, Etherians, Utopians carry these same sun frequencies, these same coil-like frequencies within them. They are going to be seen in the beings on planet Earth. These are the beings that could be on planet Earth during a time when no other species could exist, right? When the sun was the strongest, when the being's skin was the darkest and was absorbing the most sun, when the hair was the most coiled, all right, spiraling up, all right, spiraling outward, like the rays, like the frequencies, they coil outward, all right. Your hair can stand up, it coils, simple, all right. Whereas with the 6 gene, it is kind of just straight. All right, this is why if we look at the different types of melanin or neuromelanin, we know that it exists on a etheric level, on phonetic level. That's what I'm trying to say. An animal, and there's plants, all right, levels. So the strongest, the non-ether, the Etherians carry the strongest DEA, deoxyetheric acid, not DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. We carry a different type of gene, different from the human. And what do we know melanin to be as? All right, if y'all check out my melanin video, y'all can get a little bit of understanding of what melanin is, what the different type of melanin is, why it is so targeted, and such like that. I can go ahead and leave a link for you guys But melanin is so powerful. It is something that is exists, like I say in that video, on many levels, on multiple levels. It's a very powerful substance, right? It is able to absorb light and responds and interacts with different frequencies and vibrations and auras, right? Melanin is able to absorb and reflect. It absorbs all things, all colors, right? Melanin is black because it is the absorption of all colors. All right. This is why everything in the universe is dark matter energy, because it is just the absorption of all of the entities before it, right? When we look at the ascension, right, there's a natural ascension and descension, but it exists in harmony. It exists in a balance, right? When we get to the highest ascension, that is dark matter energy. That is the dark, the ether, the etheric. That is the 9 energy. That is completion. You finished everything, right? But when you go down, when you descend, right, you are going from a plasma, gas, solid, liquid, solid, right? You are descending into a solid form, into a vessel, into an avatar form, right? You're taking your consciousness and it is descending down into these different energies, into each of these energies, right? Into this type of human avatar, all right, where we can exist and have kind of a different experience. But melanin consciousness, ethers, ethertopians, ethertopians, Etherians are the original beings that inhabited the earth, the hottest places of the earth, that were able to absorb and live off of nature and exist in the balance and the frequency of nature. Ethertopians, Etherians are consciousness, are wisdom, our experience, our light energy, our sun beings, all right? Everything that exists that's centered around Kemetic, African history, knowledge, culture, mythology, cosmology, it all centered around the idea of the worship of higher beings, of higher entities, higher bodies than ourselves, higher homage to things more outside of this dimension, outside of this universe, to things outside of this realm, paying homage to things in the spiritual as well as in the physical, recognizing and opening and being aware and being open-minded to having anything outside of this realm, right? This was a culture that centered their actual structures around the dimensions of the universe, how they base their laws and their governments and their systems, their moral systems around honoring these celestial bodies and honoring the creation of the original creation of this universe and of the multiverses and of the multiple other multiverses, the infinite possibility of anything occurring and the creation of something, taking something so large, so infinite, and refining it to something so small, to something so minute, to learn something, just to learn a lesson, right? Just to experience each and every possible thing there is to experience, right? Just learning and teaching and paying it forward and leaving legacy and leaving crumbs for the next generation to learn and to build on, right? So this is what the 9th ether is. I'm going to try not to keep this video too long. I hope that we covered everything. Yeah, so I guess that's all we're going to talk about today. Ether, I mean, yeah, if we're just going to, so ether is, if we're going to take anything away from this, just remember that ether is consciousness. Ether is the law of attraction, is as above, so below. It's the laws of correspondence and all of this, right? What exists above also exists below. There is an equal balance. There's always going to be equal balance. There's always going to be a masculine and a feminine, a set and a heru, right? There's always going to be a good and an evil. There's always going to be an opposition for things to always balance here, okay? So remember that anything that exists in the physical realm can also have a spiritual manifestation, right? When we think about how all of this exists down to if we mimic everything for what the celestials tell us, right, that likely things that are going on with us in the physical, right, physical ailments are likely linked to something more spiritual, right? The ancient healers, the ancient African and Kemetic healers not only looked at, you know, what the body was doing, but what the spiritual side, the spiritual diseases that could be linked to what was going on in the body. It is important to understand both sides, to recognize both sides, because it, again, all goes hand in hand. The combination of the two all goes hand in hand, and you cannot have one without the other. You cannot exist without the other, all right? So, for real this time. That's all I have for this video, you guys. If you guys found anything helpful, if you understand, got comprehension, go ahead and leave me a like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to check out my Patreon, where we have more information just like this. I have meditations, the full moon meditations coming up. All right, so peace and love, y'all. Divine 9 Tribe, elevate well, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace and love, y'all. Ashe.